Grabe and Stoller, 2002, PPI 6-7, recognize 7 main types of reading according to the purpose. Search for simple information, skim quickly, learn from texts, integrate information, search for information needed for writing, critique texts, general comprehension. Intensive reading is generally considered a language-focused type of reading. The same text is usually read at least twice with the purpose of building linguistic knowledge. Students read silently in class or at home, and the main purpose is to achieve general understanding of the text, develop their confidence, and provide them with the opportunity to enjoy reading. Extensive reading is usually more motivating, because students are often allowed to choose a text, and because it involves the use of a great variety of authentic materials. Because intensive reading focuses on details and texts are shorter, they are usually read at least twice. A book club or a reading club provides students with the opportunity to practice extensive reading and foster a love for reading. It develops students' critical thinking skills by providing a safe space for discussion. In the area of EFL teaching, genre relates to its communicative purposes, its particular social and cultural context, lexico-grammatical features, among others. According to Swales, 1990, a genre comprises a class of communicative events, the members of which share some set of communicative purposes. p. 58. There is not a single list of genres or text types that teachers should use in the EFL classroom. Genres are classified differently, depending on the perspective from which they are viewed or the criteria applied. Nonfiction is sometimes divided into two: nonfiction and literary nonfiction. To adopt a genre-based approach means to explore the potential of different genre texts for creating tasks that prepare students for real-life situations. A genre-based approach incorporates not only a wide range of communicative competences, but also helps students transfer their knowledge of a language system into an active ability to recognize, interpret, and use a variety of genres. How is food a part of your cultural celebrations? Involves reading 2 different text types. Shared reading is a whole group reading that involves peer collaboration in the interpretation of the plot, ideas, characters, text structure, vocabulary, etc. It is learner-centered. Shared reading enhances students' agency through inquiry and student talk. Its focus on meaning and enjoyment boosts students' love for reading. Students follow the text while the teacher is reading it, which helps them to become aware of pronunciation, rhythm, and stress. Shared reading is a whole group reading that involves peer collaboration in the interpretation of the plot, ideas, characters, text structure, vocabulary, etc. It does not necessarily involve acting. The teacher reads the entire story to the students, focusing on general comprehension and using voice characterizations. Shared reading can be divided into pre, during, and post stages, and students are asked to do varied motivating activities. They participate actively in the process. The 4 rhetorical modes of discourse are traditionally described as narration, description, exposition, and argumentation, persuasion. Reception, production, interaction, and mediation are types of activities, and reading, writing, listening, and speaking are skills. The purpose of narration is to introduce some characters in a setting, develop a plot through a series of events. Depending on their proficiency level, students can be asked to write a short story, a flash fiction story, an anecdote, etc. Narration and description frequently appear in the same text, i.e., students might have to write a text that includes the 2 modes. Reflective writing records a personal experience, analyses how this experience impacted the author, and helps students recall their experiences and reflect on the lesson learned from them. Reflective writing is considered narration and takes many different forms, such as summaries, portfolios, journals, diaries, or blogs. Nation, 2009, divides writing tasks into experience tasks, shared tasks, guided tasks, independent tasks. In experience tasks, the teacher thinks of a familiar topic and stimulates previous knowledge. Students can work individually or in groups. Shared tasks are proposed when it is difficult for a student to complete the task on their own. In multi-level classes, students can work in groups to help one another. In guided tasks, learners receive a lot of support, such as pre-taught grammar structures and vocabulary, as well as models of text types they are expected to follow. Guidance can also be provided by other students if the class is organized in multi-level groups. Independent tasks are suitable for students who have certain proficiency level and experience in completing the other three types of task in Nation's classification. Although in some ways independent tasks resemble experience tasks, the former require less preparation and control, and learners should be equipped with a number of writing strategies so they can successfully overcome the difficulties they might face while completing the task. Blogging in the EFL classroom is suitable for all students, as long as the age factor is taken into account. Education blogs are not used to help students connect with people outside the EFL classroom. There is no need to create a profile. Students can write the posts, and the teacher will upload them. When applied properly, blogging can combine effectively the reading and writing skills with critical thinking skills. The blog post students are expected to write can belong to any of the 4 rhetorical modes of discourse. Students read and comment on their peers' posts. It is particularly important to be courteous. Then, they read their peers' comments on their own posts and reply to these comments. Students use the rhetorical devices they have studied in class to appeal to their readers' logic, emotions, or ethics. This develops their critical thinking skills. Listeners make use of both linguistic and paralinguistic signals in interpreting the message. Students should become aware of the fact that spoken English cannot be properly understood without the study of paralinguistic cues. Fine. Paralinguistic signals usually complement or confirm the information obtained from linguistic signals, but they can sometimes contradict it. At the heart of understanding units of spoken language is word recognition. Word recognition is not limited to recognizing its sense. Listeners should be able to recognize to which word class it belongs and its relationship with other words, for instance in collocations. Another reason why learners can mishear some parts of a sentence are the stress and intonation patterns in English. Although teachers tend to focus on the pronunciation of specific sounds, rather than on intonation and rhythm, students should be made aware of the importance of stress and rhythm to understand an utterance correctly. Teaching rhythm and connected speech is as important for improving listening skills as teaching common phonemes. Nonverbal cues, according to Rost, 2011, are exophoric signals, kinesic signals, baton signals, directional gaze, and guide signals. Intensive listening implies close listening and is language-focused. Students can listen for details, such as specific words or grammatical units. Examples of intensive listening include dictation, shadowing, error identification, etc. Selective listening means that students focus only on what they want to hear. Pre-listening stage is important in this type of listening. Teachers can use visual support or pre-teach vocabulary, for instance, and in turn, students can take notes while listening. The topic of the listening activity can be discussed in advance to activate prior knowledge. Interactive listening, which presents a number of variations, is a common practice in the EFL classroom. An example of this type of listening is when 2 students engage in a conversation on a topic in class. Extensive listening refers to listening usually with a long-term goal. It can include academic listening, sheltered language instruction, and listening for pleasure. Extensive listening can include academic listening, sheltered language instruction, and listening for pleasure, which removes the stress of listening for details. Responsive listening means that the goal of the activity is the listener's response, which is effective rather than informational. J.J. Wilson, 2008, discusses what makes a good listening text from a slightly different perspective, although some criteria inevitably overlap with the conditions mentioned in the table above. He groups the factors that determine a good listening text into content and delivery. Interest factor. The text should match students' interests and needs. Needless to say, it is not an easy task to find a text that is of interest to all the students in a class. Entertainment factor. Ideally, the text should also be enjoyable. This factor relates to the interest factor. Cultural accessibility means that some texts might be difficult or impossible to understand due to the cultural differences between the L1 culture and FL culture, and the teacher should take this into account when they select a text for a listening task. Speech acts include questions, commands, offers, exclamations, and requests, among others. Discourse structure refers to the way a text is organized, i.e., how meaning and form relate. Cohesion and coherence are particularly important when we reflect on this factor. Density refers to the amount of information in the text. Language level factor refers to complexity, formal and informal vocabulary, collocations, phrasal verbs, etc., are also to be taken into account for the choice of a good listening text. Density refers to the amount of information in the text. All text should be to a greater or lesser extent relevant to the students. End of script.